the language and education policies in the Philippines through the years.
During the Spanish colonization, the Spanish crown issued several contradictory laws on language. Missionaries were asked to learn the vernacular but were then required to teach Spanish. And during that time, the priors also continued to learn the local languages for evangelization, which turned out to be a success. That is according to Gonzalez 2006.
So, during American colonization, Americans, on the other hand, saw education as a powerful weapon, and in the Philippines, they found subjects receptive to the opportunities given by the English language. American policy allowed for compulsory education for all Filipinos in English but was hostile to local languages. So, media of instructions were in English, teachers were trained to teach English, and instructional materials were all in English. Local languages were used as auxiliary languages to teach character education, good manners, and right conduct. This is according to Martin, 1999. So English became the language of higher education, socio-economic, and political opportunities still visible today. So shortly after the independence from Spain, the Philippines came under the American rule from 1898 to 1946. In the beginning, Filipinos saw Americans as allies against Spain. The Americans saw the perfect opportunity for colonization that Spain did not. This is the education. So while the Spanish eventually established schools through the Royal Decree of 1863, these were literacy schools teaching reading and writing in Spanish.
During the independence time, in 1935, Article 13, Section 3 of the 1935 Commonwealth Constitution directed the National Assembly to take steps toward the development and adoption of a common national language based on one of the existing native languages. In 1936, the Institution of National Language, or INL, was founded to study existing languages and select one of them as the basic of national language. In 1937, the INL recommended Tagalog as the basic of the national language because it was found to be widely spoken and was accepted by Filipinos, and it had a large literary tradition.
In the 60s and the 70s, it see nationalist movements critical of the English language. However, English remained as a dominant language even at the peak of linguistic nationalism and the height of student activism in the 70s. So in 1974, a bilingual education policy was formally introduced using English for science and mathematics and Filipino for all other subjects taught in school. According to Gonzalez, 1998, it notes that this was a compromise to the demands of both nationalism and internationalism. English would ensure that Filipinos stay connected to the world, while Filipino would help in the strengthening of the Filipino identity. So this had a real success with English still dominant, and Filipinos feared an English would deprive in the future. In the year 1974, it saw the start of the Philippines adhering to neoliberal policies where the government started to promote cheap labor to other countries, advertising Filipinos' ability to speak. So this was the year the first batch of the overseas Filipino workers was deployed to the Middle East. And in the 70s, which was also the time of the dictatorship in the Philippines, it saw the changes in the education system, restructured to answer to export-oriented industrialization. So with the cheap export labor in mind, the President Ferdinand Marcos had a strong support for English and shifted English education to vocational and technical English training.
Post-dictatorship. After the dictatorship, the 1987 Constitution was written. Tagalog was changed to Filipino and then Filipino for it to be less regionalistic or less connected to the Tagalog region. According to this constitution, Filipino was to be developed from all local language of the Philippines. According to this new BEP, Filipino and English shall be used as the medium of instruction, while regional languages shall be used as auxiliary media of instruction and as initial language for literacy. In 1991, the Komisyon ng Wikang Filipino or Commission on the Filipino Language was established. They have led the celebration of Buwan ng Wika or National Language Month every August. The friars continued to learn the local languages for evangelization, which turned out to be a success by Gonzales 2006.